Hi, everyone. I thought it would be fun to bring someone in that has a lot of knowledge on uh, various aspects of what we've been talking about over the last couple weeks. This is my dear friend Bethany. She is a massage therapist in Idaho, Boise specifically for those that are in the area, whether you watch this now or later. She specializes in working with the nervous system, specializes in post-traumatic stress. I believe she's also trained in CrossFit, so just has a huge scope of knowledge around the body and how it works. And so yeah, I wanted to bring her on to just ask her some questions. For those of you that have watched week 4, you'll see this slide because I took this slide from her beautiful lectures. But was hoping, yeah, that she would take some time just to go a little deeper into the ceptions and just the layers in which our body processes information. Just because as we've been talking about metabolic processes and, how many pieces of information our nervous system takes in at once, and just again, these different layers of like how we get to view our experience, particularly around like diagnoses and living and just, all the various things that we've talked about. I just wanted to bring her on and yeah, just hear her wisdom. Every time she talks, my jaw just hits the ground. So I always enjoy it.
Wow. Thank you. That's such a nice introduction. Um,
True, it's true.
um, Great. I'm Bethany. Okay, so we're going to talk about deceptions. You have the slide. The slide is already pulled up.
I have, yeah, so this is being recorded right now, but this is in uh the lecture we did this morning. So
Oh,
you're
perfect.
familiar with
Okay.
this photo. Yep. So
Okay.
as we're recording, that's in there.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to talk about deceptions. This is basically our body's ability to perceive what's going on. So either I don't know, maybe you guys have heard that phrase, the body um, receives 80% of the information happening is coming in, and only 20% of that is being put out as like a response. This is true for like the vagus nerve. People like talking about the vagus nerve. 80% of the fibers of the vagus nerve are going like in from the body up into the brain, and then 20% output. I feel like this is a really important distinction when we're thinking about our behavior or how our body is affected by our environment and how we respond to it, because we get so much more information in, but most of our environment or like our culture, especially in the mental health world, is and medical, is considering fixing what is being put out. But what is being put out is like a result of this mass of information that's coming in first. Anything with the body, like if you were to like go to physical therapy or a medical office or whatever, even like this principle applies in like the field of technology. If you're like a computer person, things always work in this sequence of like input, input, um, cognition or like making sense of it, and then output. And so if you don't like the output that like the machine or your body is giving you, you have to change the input and the perception you have of the input, or yeah, and then that becomes output. So this is like pretty common with like everything else in our lives. Our car, putting enough gas in it, maintaining it. I don't know. Everything else in our life is like based on this very simple concept. But when it comes to our bodies, the mental health space and like modern medicine has made it like we only focus on the output. Like if you're in a bad mood or you're depressed, whatever, you have physical symptoms, it's like that's what we're going to jump on. But we ignore this massive information that's coming in before the output even occurs. So septions are really fun in like a nerdy way because it gives us such a wide range of like what that 80% is, what is occurring in our body that we're trying to make sense of and then create behaviors and habits and mindsets out of. So the how many do we have here? 7 septions. So the first and what will take the most amount of time, um, we'll start up at the top is embodied which is neuroception. Neuroception refers to like this concept of our brain perceiving where we are, and what's going on within us. So it's the brain's perceiving the body. So the first one is proprioception. Proprioception means that we have an awareness of where we are in time and space. Um, in particular, the relationship of our limbs in space. This is really important for me as a massage therapist working with the nervous system because and so I'll share this with you because we all have a nervous system. When we are dealing with symptoms of severe stress, even I would say, let's say everyday stress, severe, and then even like post-traumatic stress where it's become like um, a syndrome or like an injury that needs some really specialized recovery. Um, in order to recover that wholeness back to the system that's been under a lot of stress, we have to include the periphery, which is like the peripheral part of the nervous system, which is our limbs, our arms, hands, feet, legs. Um, it's really important to include the outer limbs in in the concept of making us whole again. If you have children, you probably are doing this without realizing it even when they're older, like 7, 8, 9, they're like long, like holding them in your body. They're like little string beans, their arms and legs everywhere. But I'm an auntie and I've done this where I'll like cuddle my nieces and I'll like grab their arms in and wrap them up in their own arms. And they're like, they make a fuss, but I think they really like it. You can tell when kids are just kind of into these weird little shapes you do with them. We do it with babies normally. But just getting their limbs like kind of involved in the process of giving them a sense of where they are in time and space. You can tell also when like um, kids are dealing with like processing issues, or maybe they've been under a lot of stress at home. These are kids that are like running into objects. And I say kids, but like adults too. If I'm going through like a stressful time, I'm not eating well, not sleeping well, I will run into every door that exists. Like my clothes get stuck on the handle. It's a whole thing. So our awareness of like where we are in time and space can be really powerful way to kind of anchor back into the body. If you notice you're having one of those kind of days, like running into things, stepping on stuff, you're like twisting your ankle, like we're just not doing well. We can focus on like how we're thinking about that, but we also can go to our limbs and try to correct that 80% input, go to the extremities first. So one way to do this with your proprioception is just squeezing the different joints of the body. Ankle, wrist, elbow, knee, thigh, or shoulder, um, squeezing here. The joints in particular have a lot of mechanoreceptors that help orient where we are so that when we're like walking or like if you step up a stair and like it's a little higher or lower than you thought it would be, those joints are giving the brain input of like how to accurately navigate our environment to like safely stay in an upright posture. So just giving the brain this feedback through the joints is really powerful, and through the limbs in particular. Working with body positioning and proprioception is like absolute game changer for people who are experiencing symptoms of post-traumatic stress. They just like almost lose touch with that part of the body. The input is still coming in, that 80% still happening, but they are just not aware of it, which is like it's numb. There's a numbness to it. The next section is intero, and that is looking at our digestion, regulation of our breath, ovulating. We might consider this our eighth sense. This is where we tap into being hungry. I have to pee. Um, where we would start to define like I feel hot, but I'm perceiving it as anger. Like this is I'm going to say like a little bit of an advance. This is like I am. The interoception is like taking this information and understanding that I need to do something with it. I have to pee. I'm hungry. I need to eat. That's happening from within our organs. Um, we also can pull some emotion from this. So how do I feel? We might use phrases related to our viscera or organs naturally in our English language. So we might say like, I have butterflies in my stomach. Um, the Bible has a lot of language around kidneys. Like, if somebody's very upset, they're like, I feel this in my kidneys, or like, there's pain in my kidneys, like very dramatic, poetic language. But like, it means like the depth of your soul is being affected when it's like talking about your kidneys. Um, I'm trying to think of what else. We have butterflies in our stomach. Um, Maybe something in our chest, if we see somebody that you love down the street or something, but we have language to tap into like these different organs of the body. Interoception obviously is happening beneath our conscious awareness. We're not we can, like, for example, think of our breathing, we can influence it, but it's mostly happening with just without our conscious awareness. Breathing, digesting food, we're not really thinking of like what part of our digestive system is working at the time. Starts at our esophagus, stomach, and then goes to the lower, or excuse me, the small intestine and large. Like we're not thinking of that, but our body's paying attention to that. Um, because this group is very interested in health and wellness, you may have picked up on this very subtle trend of the last 10 years of becoming gluten-free. And this, I think, interoception is a huge reason why people have made the choice to change their nutrition, gluten especially. Because if there's some type of allergy or we're allergic to like what's being sprayed on the wheat in America versus other countries, I buy bougie like wheat from Italy if I make pasta and like nobody has a problem with it. But if I buy, whatever flour from the grocery store here, it's like covered in God knows what. So our body through interoception can pick up on like this micro inflammation from foods that are disturbing us, and it can affect like if you've ever had brain fog or you act funny, you're emotional, you cut out gluten and then you're like a completely wonderful person to be around. Like that is in part because of interoception. Your body is giving this 80% somewhere, even if we're not consciously aware of it, and then it affects our output, how we behave and feel and interact with the world. There's also the gut-brain connection, which I'm sure there's all these, Megan, all these like chemicals and what's being released or whatever. So there's that too. But just from an inflammatory standpoint or upset stomach kind of standpoint, that's valuable. The next one we'll talk about is exteroception. This is receiving stimulus from outside the body. So inside, intero, obviously inside, but like viscera inside. Proprio is like the limbs and extremities. Excuse me. And then extero means, yeah, stimulus from outside of the body. The five senses, sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. That's all exteroception. This is such a beautiful thing too, of like when we engage in just normal human behavior, going for a walk or touching like the arm or hand of a loved one, we are experiencing this as exteroception, our sense of touch of them, but they might be experiencing it as proprioception. They're getting a concept of like where they are. Back to kids and how valuable it is to just physically interact with children, is it gives them a sense of like where they belong and where they are in their body, in the family, in the community, in the world. But for us giving it, we're experiencing it as exteroception. I'm sensing the temperature of your skin and if it's rough or smooth. That's really cool. There's also we'll get into this too with nociception, but exteroception, there are um nerve surfaces, there's surfaces of our body that are supplied by nerves. Okay, let me back up. All of the surfaces of our body are supplied, the sensation to the skin is supplied by nerves. Like that's how we pick up on information with the body. So if somebody were to use like a cold stone or like a cold spoon, some people do like cold for like the face, a roller or something, a hot stone, something that might feel sharp, like a doctor might use like the end of a pen or something to kind of see like, does this feel numb? Do you have feeling here? Do you have feeling here? So something maybe rough or sharp. We have the ability to pick up on all these different textures. A feather, if somebody were to rub a feather, we could pick up on it if we were blindfolded. A cotton ball, like just endless, endless textures that our nerves are designed to pick up on. There are certain parts of the body that are designed to perceive light touch in particular. This is so beautiful. Um, Almost anywhere that we naturally would grow hair. So even if we wax or something, so the forearms, the legs, some of us on our face, just little baby hairs, where typically where there's hair, we can instinctively perceive light touch. And that's so beautiful when you think about like how attuned and safe we have to be to like receive light touch in a loving way. We instinctively can di distinguish between threatening touch and safe touch. I'm thinking of like those creepy like maybe a Marvel movie where you have like the super villain who's like just such a creep and he's like you're like the villain or the hero is like tied up to a post and the villain comes in and is like touches lightly just to be a super creepy. Obviously you're like, ugh, that's so disgusting. That ugh. Um, so we can pick up on light touch, but we know like, ugh, this guy is just a piece of work, not into it. Obviously, he's just being creepy. So we can pick up on these light sensations or firm, but we can instinctively tell. Another cool like flip-flop example is like if you are, I don't know if you guys watch these videos of like dogs being reunited with like the military guy who came back from overseas or whatever, or like the two guys that like released the lion into the wild and then they went back and then the lion remembered them and like, oh my gosh, like if you want to cry, look up those videos. But I think the internet has taken me to this corner where I'm seeing like old friends reunited, and it shows like a man running up behind another man and jumping on his back because it's like he's so excited to see his friend and he's going to surprise him. And the friend does not respond with threat. And you would think a grown man walking down the street, if somebody comes up behind you and squeezes you or grabs their arms around you, of course, like if you were to write that on a piece of paper, you're like, this is obviously threatening, but he can feel like there's just a softness to somebody who wants to hold you tight or like, be silly with you. You can feel it. That's an exteroception, like that sixth sense that we have of like, is this threat or is this safe? Even in a split second. Um, One thing I hate it so much is when people come up behind me in a crowd and like tap on this shoulder, but they're here. So then I like look and then I think it's like the biggest like old man joke ever. I absolutely hate it. Like if people do that to me, I just walk away. I'm like, I can't interact with you. I don't like this at all. But I know it's not threatening or like they'll grab and I'm like, okay. So anyway, I think I've made the point. We can instinctively tell between threatening and safe touch. So some of us are not oriented to touch, which I'm a massage therapist, so it's like what I do all day. But if you're someone who's not oriented to touch, just know that your body knows the difference between safe and threatening touch. It's so beautiful. The next piece of the ceptions that we'll go to is nociception. These are special nerve fibers that pick up specifically on heat, sharp, threat, or chemical exposure. Um, Pain is actually considered an addition to this concept of nociception. So in school for massage therapists, we learned about nociception or like nociceptive cells, and like we learned that as like those are the cells that pick up on pain. Total side point if you guys want to nerd out, there's actually a lot of controversy about what pain even is. They've pretty much determined there's not like a cell that perceives pain the way we were taught with nociception. It doesn't have a specific region of the brain that is dedicated to pain. So this is where we get into like chronic pain situations, and it can be really hard for doctors to figure out how to help us because they can't isolate it. They don't know where it's happening in the body. So something might work for somebody's low back pain and not touch somebody else's. It's like kind of for people who it's a bad time to be alive if you're like stuck in the medical system because the like A plus A, B, C progression, 2 + 2 = 4, it like doesn't work. And like the cracks are starting to show. The more like hypermobile people are, the more chronic pain there is. It's like all these things that this linear concept just isn't working anymore. But for those of us who are interested in doubling down on the power of our body or the power of our mind, we can make these connections. It doesn't have to be linear. We can just be like, oh, that makes sense. And the medical community can't do that because they have to have everything like, um, peer reviewed and everything. But like everyday people like us, we can make these basic correlations. So that's my rant. But nociception is these special nerve fibers that pick up on heat, sharp, threat, or chemical. Um, and the normal world of things will tell you it's also pain related. Below our cognitive awareness is reception and perception. We will use this phrase, I perceive this, or how do you perceive this situation? Um, this is just looking at my notes. Our perception is how we organize, interpret, and assign meaning to the experiences that we're having. And reception is sensory. So this is like receiving, um, receiving, uh, gatekeeping. This is how we like receive information from the body, and then we perceive it or assign meaning to it. And then conception or is our cognition. That's how we create meaning and communicate that to other people. But we can see this pyramid of like the embodied portion at the bottom, this subcognition, and then cognition is like this little thing at the top. And like that's where most of our interventions start, but we could really work all the way down the pyramid and it'll change the top. So that's my overview of the ceptions.
I took so many notes and
You did.
I've already listened to you say this, but I took more.
It's so cool. And
Um,
we think about like trusting the body or like listen to your body. It's like it's so cool to know what the parts are instead of just like bleh. Like no, there's pieces of this puzzle.
oh, completely. But then I even, just off of you saying that, I was speaking to somebody the other day about this. When people say, right, well, listen to your body, if the language and the knowledge that you have learned doesn't reflect this, how are you going to listen to your body in a way that actually is not the way your body wants you to listen, right? Just speaking to that 80% input, even that, how you perceive something, that foundational understanding, learning concept. I mean, we talked about this in the Tuesday lab. We were just going over some marketing. Little pieces after talking about how the gut makes 90 to 95% of the serotonin, I pulled up a quote from an SSRI marketing thing that basically said like, well, this serotonin in the gut can't cross the blood-brain barrier. This SSRI can though, but when you really actually look at how SSRI moves to the brain, it does it through the vagus nerve. So do we even need an
Whoa.
SSRI to cross the blood-brain barrier if the vagus nerve, from what I've seen in the research and the studying that I've done, is what takes the serotonin anyway?
Right. Wow.
But if you don't know that, right, you're going to
Right.
take the knowledge that you have. So I go back to
Yeah.
that, like, is the knowledge that's given, right, actually what the body wants from you? Whereas if
Yeah.
we have this knowledge available and it's such a different perspective and so many lenses and yeah, just everything you said, I'm just like, yep, yep,
So
yep,
cool.
yep. It's amazing.
Love it.
You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so glad to
Thank
come
you.
and talk. Yeah.
Um, I know you mostly teach like massage therapists and things like that, but if have you ever considered like doing any type of education for other individuals? I want people to be able to contact you or, if you want to share like how they
Yeah.
can contact you if
Yeah.
if they have
My
questions or want to, yeah, teach or learn from you. I'm scratching my dog's face right now. That's
That's
why I'm so
okay.
close to the computer.
Um, yeah, I teach massage therapists online, but this round I did have people who were not massage therapists who wanted to be in the group. Every time I host a workshop or promote something I'm teaching to massage therapists or like mental health therapists. Every time I promote that, I have people ask me, like my clients or just people that follow me on Instagram, like, are you going to teach this for the rest of, for other people? I'm like, I can, I just haven't like specifically tried to do it that way. Um, but and I think because I got into this world of body stuff through massage school, um, that's always kind of been my interest or like my leaning of it. Hi, Shiva. Oh my gosh. She's like, I love you.
We
I
love
love
her
you.
love. She's been through the patient for a long time.
Oh.
Yeah.
But yeah, follow me. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is phoenix.bodywork. And but yeah, I'm totally open to it. And I think I've had enough people ask that I probably should or can do that. Yeah. But people can always, I'm a huge DM, like I'm an Instagram friend. So I have a lot of people that just send me like pictures of raccoons for like 6 months. And then one day they're like, my mom twisted her ankle and now, her left eye is twitching. Like, what do I do? I'm like, no, but let's try something. So everybody is always welcome to like DM me. I like internet friends. So
Beautiful. Mm.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, big hugs. Shiva says thank you too. Yes.
Oh, honey. What a beautiful puppy.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just gonna stop recording real fast.